Saxophonist Jimmy Mosher was born in 1938, passed away in 1967. But he filled those years with some wonderful music. He was just a top-notch saxophonist and a wonderful person based on all the things that he had done. He took up saxophone as a young boy, and while he played in the famous bands of Woody Herman, Buddy Rich, he became known and appreciated with his work with Herb Pomeroy's band, as well as his own band with Trumpeter Paul Fontaine. Paul Fontaine here? Paul Fontaine's going to come up and say a few things about Jimmy Mosher.
Thanks very much. I just want to say I have a little personal contact with two others here, Joe Gordon and Dean Earl. Dean Earl, when I started at Berkeley, thanks to the paving the way for me to get into Berkeley by Jimmy Mosher, Dean used to be in the vestibule 1140 building. That was the main building. And every time I come in, he said, "Are you swinging, man?" Of course. And he had always that beam, that beam on his face. And the other one was Joe Gordon. Joe Gordon was my early idol. I loved Clifford Brown, but Joe Gordon was right here in Boston, and I was able to get onto the jazz workshop and hear him play all the time. So he became my idol, and I used to actually go to his house, and his mother would let me in, and I'd play chords for him to practice on. And he used to use me, but I was glad to do it. The other thing, too, is I just want to say one correction. Jimmy died in 1987, not 67.
No, that's right, 1987.
87.
That's the mistake.
Yeah.
That's the mistake that was on the board that we had.
Oh, is that right? Okay, just wanted to correct it.
1987.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Jimmy and I were friends for over 35 years. We first met when we were teenagers growing up in Lynn. Jimmy's father was a professional saxophonist that traveled around the country with different bands before settling to raise his family in the Pine Hill section of Lynn. Jimmy's father, my trumpet teacher, was Lou Amico. We're friends and thought that Jimmy and I should get together and be involved in the band, so we did. Our drummer was Sonny Carrington, who since that time became the father of the wonderfully talented Terry Lynn Carrington. Sonny's father, Matty, was also a professional musician that was the drummer with the popular Manlew's black and white band. Jimmy's father and Matty would take turns driving us to our gigs on weekends. We used to play dances in local YMCA's, high schools. Jimmy was always 3 steps ahead of me. He began taking lessons from his father around age 6. Jimmy's dad had his record collection was the music of all the great jazz artists of that time, with Charlie Parker being the most prominent. We often got together in each other's homes to listen, to record, to listen to records, and learn the tunes and play along with solos. Eventually, we graduated from high school, received scholarships to the Berkeley School of Music, as it was known at that time. Our teachers were the best: Herb Pomeroy, Ray Santisi, Charlie Mariano, Joe Viola, John Coffey, just to name some. And we were very happy and inspired to be around them. Herb had a small group and a big band that played regularly at the Stables Jazz Workshop on Huntington Avenue. That's where the Westin Hotel is now. Herb used to have what he called the B Band. His purpose was to have his student musicians learn the book in case one of his main players wasn't able to make a rehearsal or a gig. We both got the chance to play with the A Band many times. Jimmy played baritone then. This is a little story I think you might like to hear about something that happened before we graduated from high school. One Sunday morning, Jimmy called me and asked if I would like to go into town with he and his father to the Hi-Hat Jazz Club for an afternoon session. On the way into town, Jimmy's father was very vague to tell us who we were going to see. And we were approaching the club, as we were approaching the club, we could see a big poster of Charlie Parker. We just couldn't believe that we were going to see and hear him in person. At that time, Symphony Sid had a popular jazz program on Boston radio, and he did a live remote broadcast from a booth next to the bandstand on every Sunday afternoon. After playing the first set and amazing everyone, Charlie Parker left the bandstand and was going through the crowd, shaking hands and having a few words with people here and there. We could see that he would eventually come very close to our table if he continued on that path. Just as he approached our table, he suddenly stopped in front of Jimmy's dad and said loudly, "Jimmy Mosher, what a surprise." Well, we were shocked. We had no idea that they knew each other. Jimmy's father never said anything about this. Jimmy's father invited Bird, which we knew him by, to sit and have a drink. He did sit down with us, and Jimmy's father introduced him to us. He shook our hands and asked us what we did. We told him that we were in high school, and he urged us to stay with it and not to do what he did, which was leave school too early. Jimmy's dad and Bird talked for the entire break, trading stories of mutual acquaintances around the country. We just listened to everything they said. When leaving the table to go back to the next set, Bird shook our hands again and wished us good luck with our future. Jimmy and I talked about that many times for many years. For us, I think it was the greatest musical highlight of our lives, just meeting Bird. Well, now I would like to say that I can't think of anyone more deserving of this recognition than Jimmy Mosher. Thanks very much for that honor.